If you've spent any time free blocking in Trackmania, you've probably been frustrated before by how the blocks don't seem to snap in the way that you'd expect. Like they don't line up visually with something going on internally. And as it turns out, that's exactly the case. That's why this block is rotated 90 degrees, for example. It's why I apparently couldn't put the top block there until I put something on the side. And it's also why if I just rotate this block like this, go down and go in like this, then I can put it exactly where I want it without any hassle. This video is going to teach you this knowledge and show you how to apply it in three sort of common situations. There's the situations where corners don't work, situation where it doesn't seem like you can even snap where you should be able to, and the situation where you just can't get the block to face the right direction. Afterwards, you'll understand exactly why this happens and what you can do to work around the limitations of the editor. To understand how free blocks snap to each other, the first thing that we need to understand are clips. So you can see here three sort of road sections, and I've taken this block here and created a custom block out of it, where I've just deleted the entire mesh. This leaves a big hole in the ground, and you can see that the end of the middle road section there is gone, and that's because the clip has been taken away, because there is the game thinks, a road section next to it. Blocks only have clips on the top, bottom, and sides, and they take up the entire face. So that's 32 by 8 for the sides, or 32 by 32 for the top and bottom. These clips are mostly visible, but not always, and they're stored in the map under baked blocks. Here, I've moved the clips artificially to make them a bit more obvious. Each face can have between 0 and 7 clips, and each block unit has 6 faces. A block unit is one cell of the block grid, 32 by 8 by 32. Larger blocks have many more block units, but mostly their clips are in just a few places. This one has just 6 clips in total. To understand free block snapping, you need to think about clips instead of what's visually in front of you. As far as the game is concerned, only the clips exist. Say you're a game developer working on the map editor and you want two things to snap together. Ideally, you wouldn't reinvent the wheel every time you wanted two different things to snap together. That's why Trackmania 2020 has at least 5 different ways of snapping things together. Lucky for us, all free block snapping works the same. We know that two free blocks will snap when they're brought close together, but only if the right parts are close together. So, if you had to pick where to put the snapping points on this face, where would you choose? Right, the middle makes sense. And in fact, it turns out that's where it is, on every block. This brings us to the first common problem that we'll solve. Wall ride corners not snapping. In this case, these two blocks won't snap because, well, the snapping points are too far apart. This becomes obvious when you can see the snapping points. We can test this by bringing the middle of one clip face over to the clip we want to snap to. This is why it snaps okay in some orientations, but seems off if you give it a quarter turn. The helpers you're seeing on screen are a new feature of Editor++ and will be out in the next version. Since blocks can have many different clips in the same spot, they're represented here with different colors. The intention is to represent these clips like sockets that only fit certain colors. Matching colors should snap, but it doesn't work quite right yet. We can visualize the snapping radius too. By default, it extends 8 meters, probably because that's how tall a block unit is. This makes it much easier to see that, yes, the idea seems to work out. This example is similar to another situation you might have run into, snapping pillars to the underside of large blocks. For example, this bobsleigh block will not snap to the pillar like this, because, naturally, the snapping point is in the far corner. Okay, so what about the other wall blocks not snapping? As you might have guessed, this is because the block is rotated 180 degrees and is upside down. We can't snap these two edges together because that would snap like this, which would cause flickering. and no one likes flickering. If we bring compatible clips together, the block does indeed snap fine, albeit rotated 180 degrees. I'm using a custom block here to make it obvious. When it's not clear if the block is upside down or not, this is an easy mistake to make. You can check if the block is upside down by trying to snap the wrong ends together. There's one more thing we need to cover. What happens when multiple faces could snap at the same time? As you might guess, the game has to choose one pair to snap, and somehow it's never the one you want. As you can see, corresponding ends of the wall blocks are the same distance apart. No amount of moving the mouse around is going to fix this. The only way to get the game to choose one over the other is by rotating the block. Often, just one tap is enough to let you snap the block as you intended. You can, of course, use wildly different rotations too. The only thing that matters is that the two faces you want to snap are the closest pair of snappable faces. That's not the only reason you might find it hard to get two blocks to snap together. I'm not sure why a developer chose to snap these two blocks perpendicularly like this, but if I had to guess, it's because it's easier to manually construct this than to construct something with 3 90-degree turns, which you'd otherwise need. Overall, it's less trouble if it snaps with the 90-degree rotation. Of course, you can often manipulate blocks with E++ to achieve the same effect. We have one last thing to cover. The deco wall puzzle at the beginning. As you'll soon learn for yourself, enabling editor cheats is overpowered when it comes to these puzzles. The solution is quite simple if we follow through how free block snapping works from first principles. The first common mistake is trying to put a block in the middle of a crowded area. There are often going to be other clips that end up snapping first and take precedence. A second common mistake is trying to line the faces up. As we've seen, there's no need for that. Instead, all we want is for our preferred snapping points to be at the front and the rest of them to be as far back as they can be. Then, we can come at the target block from the side or the back so that only the clips that we want to snap are the ones in range to snap. And voila! That is how free block snapping works. On the Editor++ side, there's a bunch of new things with free blocks we could do, but there's also plenty of stuff already to work on. So if you've got an idea for a useful tool, or would better free block snapping support really help you, let me know in the Open Planet Discord. You can find